What is the connection between the FATF regime imposed on Pakistan and the American Revolution? As weird as it may sound, there's a strong link. You can draw a line from the FATF to the American Revolution. Stamp Act and other such acts that were imposed on the colonies by the British Parliament led to the American Revolution, led to the political rally at the time, the political slogan called "No Taxation Without Representation." Can we draw a straight line from that to what we see in Pakistan right now? Let's find out. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Imran Jan and you're watching my YouTube channel. You must have heard about taxation without representation. If you have not, here's a brief history of that. Prior to the American Revolution, when the Americans were trying to gain independence from the British control, this was a political slogan. This became a political rally, a political cry, a political slogan, which basically meant that, if the colonists and also the people who were living in what is now the United States, they were facing imposition of taxes from the distant British Parliament. And so these people are basically saying that if we do not have any representation in the British Parliament, if we do not have any representation in what happens and what kind of laws are made, then we should not be paying any taxes. Why should one aspect of citizenship be there and the other not? Why should different aspects of citizenship be cherry-picked? One should be given and one should not be given. It doesn't make any sense, and that's what led to the independence of what we now know as the United States of America. Basically, the idea was that if one is required to pay taxes and obey laws living in a certain nation, then those people should also have the power to legislate those laws and write those laws and have a seat at the table when those laws are being written and decided. This is basically what the whole essence of no taxation without representation meant. And I was reminded of that yesterday while in Pakistan. I went to a local bank when I was trying to get some details for let's say a car loan. So you want to finance a vehicle using bank, there are certain details that were given to me that really reminded me of the no taxation without representation, and the connection is really weird, but once I explain it to you, you'll understand that it's very relevant. When you want to apply to a car loan, for example, in Pakistan, and there's a certain amount of paperwork that is typical and standard in every country you want to apply, there has to be some paperwork, your information and all of that should be given. Pakistan is no exception, but there was one thing that really stood out to me, and that was about the FATF. The requirements of the FATF, which is a global regime dealing with terror financing, and one paperwork dealt with the aspect where they were trying to make sure that I have no connections with terrorism or any terrorist outfit, and that I will not be involved in any terror financing if I'm trying to finance this vehicle through the bank. Now, that's a global regime. That is a regime that was not decided or legislated or written. The laws and policies of that regime were not written by the Pakistani citizens, yet this was imposed on the Pakistani citizens. Now, we all know that, we all understand the pragmatism of all of that. Pakistan had to comply with that in order to come out of the gray list. But it just got me thinking. What makes no sense is that why should there be obedience of this regime and the laws of this regime, this global regime, when there is no representation in it? If I extend that further, the Pakistani people are not allowed to go to almost all of these countries that are involved in writing these laws. And this regime, FATF, let's say Pakistani citizens apply to visa of France or England or Canada or the United States for that matter, and much of the other countries that are involved in these global regimes that are imposed on people of Pakistan, they will not get the visa. Far from having any say as citizens of these countries to write these laws, Pakistani people are not even allowed to go to these countries. Yet the laws made by those countries are imposed on the people of Pakistan, on the citizens of Pakistan. We in Pakistan, for example, right now, the citizens have to comply with the laws of those global regimes imposed by those countries, having no say in how those laws were written. That is what I meant by why I was reminded of no taxation without representation that led to the American independence from the British colonialism. Now, I live in America also, and over there, any global regime, let's say even the United Nations, any laws or policies or rules imposed by global treaties and regimes are frowned upon in the United States. Citizens are not really required to comply with the global regimes, and they are frowned upon because they are seen as interfering with the sovereignty of the nation. They're seen as violating the country's sovereignty, but not in Pakistan. The same standard is not applied for the people of Pakistan. These rules are written for the people of Pakistan, and the people of Pakistan, like I said, they have to comply with that. I mean, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that much of these laws and rules would be written by American hands, but the same, like I said, is frowned upon when those rules and laws reach the American shores and touch the American citizens. It's frowned upon. They are written for citizens of Pakistan, for example, like in the case of FATF and many other regimes. I'm just again reminded of what Noam Chomsky always says. The American mindset is, or the European mindset is, that crimes are what others commit, not us. That's the mindset that goes. If you're a Pakistani, try applying for a US visa, for example, at the embassy of the United States in Islamabad. And if you get an appointment a year ahead in future, consider yourself as lucky. I mean, that's how bad it is. And just like all the Pakistanis know full well that getting a US visa interview is no guarantee of getting that visa. Actually, it's a guarantee of not getting that visa. Like I said, Pakistani people know full well, that shuttle, that bus that takes you back out of the diplomatic enclave, exiting you from the area, will always have people with their faces hung looking out the window, being upset, lost in thoughts, because the visa is definitely denied. The Pakistanis nowadays, when they want to apply for a visa, they watch their social media posts very carefully. They do not post anything that may be disturbing to the US consular officer at the US embassy in Islamabad. They get so careful. They literally change their lifestyle. They change their social lifestyle, and how they behave socially. They change all of that only for that one day, a few minutes of interview where they most likely will not get that visa. So again, it's just a really disturbing thought to realize that, all these regimes, in Pakistan, for example, you have to comply with these global laws imposed by you on other nations, indirectly on citizens of other nations. This is another thought for you. Citizens of other advanced and rich nations are involved in writing laws for you that you will comply with. You, on the other hand, cannot have it in reverse. You cannot impose any laws on them. You cannot even go to those countries. They do not even allow you to come visit you. But their laws can affect you, and they control your lives. Again, like I said, maybe a lot of people already know this, but something that I was disturbed by yesterday when I was at the bank and they said I have to comply with FATF's requirements to make sure that there is no terror financing. And then I realized that thought led to the American independence, when they said, if you're not going to allow us to have any power in writing laws, and you're not going to allow us to have any seat at the table when the fate of the nation is being decided, then why should we pay any taxes? Well, the same can be said here. If I'm not going to be allowed in writing any laws for a global regime that will be imposed, then why should I comply with them? And if I'm complying with them, can I also be allowed to visit some of those countries? That's a second, an extension of the same thought. The answer is, in both cases, no. So basically, it's just that you have to be obedient. You have to obey the laws without being a citizen. As a second thought, you cannot become a citizen in those countries, even though you are complying with their laws living here. The obedience is outsourced. You, on the other side of the border, are complying with their laws, but you're not their citizen. You're complying with the laws of another nation without being a citizen of that nation. That's I think really disturbing. They make your laws as if you're their citizen. You comply with the laws again as if you are their citizen. Yet you are not a citizen. You are not even allowed to go there. You cannot even get a visa to those countries. But their laws can reach you. You, on the other hand, a real human being with flesh and bones, cannot reach the borders where those laws are made. Again, whichever way you look at it, it's just really, really disturbing, and it makes absolutely no fucking sense.